eating disorder to me is it's kind of like an addiction or something that you can't help. Like a lot of people will kind of tell you, like, just stop it, or like just do, like it's just not as easy as people say it is to kind of overcome. But I think it's something that psychologically and mentally, it's a state where you're in this mood that you can't really get out of. Like I was saying earlier, like a lot of people feel that because of like everything else you can't really control, but like what you do with your body it's because of it's your body. You're like, yeah, that's your property. That's something that you can control.
To me, an eating disorder is something that someone has no control over to a certain extent. It becomes like a habit that they fall into the motions of doing. It's just like really just a reaction to something that they think in their head. So if someone were to get thoughts of them being big, they'd instantly like express that in a certain way. Or if someone thought that they weren't big enough, then they would just have that thought and then go right into an action. And then that would be something that would really show that there's some kind of a mental process that's being stuck in their brain.
Speaking from an outsider's perspective and being as uneducated as the next guy about eating disorders, I'd like to think that an eating disorder is something that, you know, completely that works as a detriment to one's health, whether it be mental health, whether it be, you know, your body's health. And it's not so much more about the eating anymore, but, you know, what it may represent or what it may be doing to the person emotionally and mentally.
To me, an eating disorder goes beyond a physician saying, oh, you have anorexia, or oh, you're diagnosed with bulimia. I think nowadays with our culture, it's more of having like an obsession with being an ideal body type, having an ideal body type, and going to extreme measures like, oh, I'm a vegetarian, literally I can't eat this, I can't eat that, oh, I need to be a bikini model, I'm just gonna have this sort of protein. And I think going to the extreme where someone's unhappy, I think that's an eating disorder. Once it becomes an obsession and literally that's your entire life, I think when there's no balance, you lose control. To me, that's what an eating disorder means.
So if you were to ask me what an eating disorder is, I would say that it's when there's a change in eating habit because of some other reasons. So whether, you know, it is when someone lost a family member and then emotionally that like they can't handle it and they choose to resolve it through, you know, not eating. Or let's say someone thinks that they're too overweight and then they choose to just not eat. I think is when some external thing triggers a change in eating behavior.
When I think of an eating disorder, the way I kind of always related to it was that it's a mental disorder with physical attributes and very, very physical detriments. Because to me, you know, speaking from what I've learned about it before and even knowing a few people that have gone through it, specifically, you know, eating food and then throwing up to kind of purge it and everything like that. For them, it always started at a source of, you know, X party told me I'm too fat or I'm unattractive, or a bunch of people making a lot of fat comments or a lot of comments about their body that were very negative and made them see themselves as either unattractive or too heavy or not enough to be able to participate in something or be a part of something in this world, or even just being able to say like, I'm attractive. They would look at themselves and say, I'm unattractive. And to me, the mental aspect is pushing you to such a negative place and really telling you like, you need to find a solution to do this quick. And for people who are a bit heavier, there are obvious solutions like eat less, don't eat as much because you're gonna gain weight if you eat too much, and then throw up whenever and get all the weight out of your system, you know. And you really, to me, you really have to push yourself mentally to a place to tell yourself that you need to do that and to go to such an extreme cause to do so. And yeah, to me, it's a very much a mental battle. And like I said, I can only imagine how hard it is, because it's really your mind telling you, like, if you don't do this, you won't get this. And yeah, that's really what it is for me. That's how I would define it. So.
An eating disorder to me means someone wanting something in an unhealthy way. So by starving themselves, vomiting, whatever way they want, and it's striving for something that they think is perfect in a way that is harming them.
I would define an eating disorder as someone who has fallen weak to the mental traps that they have set up for themselves. It is a self-degrading mindset, and it's an addiction, and it's an unhealthy relationship to food. Most people think that it's a physical disease, and although that is a factor and a result of a lot of eating disorders, it is most definitely a mental health issue. And I think people forget about that a lot. Literally being trapped in your head and fighting the demons that are in your head telling you that you need to be skinnier, or you need to feel thinner, or you need to eat less, and it's all that restrictive stuff, or it goes on to the excessive side where because you've eaten whatever so and so, you got to either purge it out, or you got to spend 3 hours in the gym just burning off all the calories that you just ate. So it's a battle, and it's definitely not something that is easy to get rid of.
I would define an eating disorder as a form of, as like an alternative vice. I think it's when you've lost control over your relationship with food. Because whether it's that you're not eating or you're excessively eating, it's when you're abusing your relationship with food to fill an emotional burden of some sort. I feel like with any type of substance abuse, whether it be like drugs or alcohol or food, a lot of it has to do with the fact that there is something emotionally that you are not currently capable of handling, or that you don't know what to do with it. And I think a lot of the times that manifests as some sort of abuse in your life, like whether it be substance or food or like body image. I think for me, if I were to define it, it would just be abusing your relationship with food to fill an emotional void of some sort.
I think it becomes an eating disorder at the point when it negatively affects your body or your mind. So I mean, like dieting is like a natural thing where you want to, be healthy, eat consciously, and keep yourself in a good state. But I think it only becomes an eating disorder when you kind of start seeing the negative effects of how it might be like controlling your lifestyle, or like harming your body, or like harming those around you as well, right? So I think that's kind of the border for that.